Disgraceful.
We've had enough of this.
Give over the talk and get on with it.
Senators have to read that section in connection with the definition.
Heard it all before,
I
sir.
think the government conceded this definition of indecency. The word indecency shall be construed as including, suggestive of, or inciting to sexual immorality or an unnatural vice, or likely in any other similar way to corrupt or deprave. It is in light of these safeguards that I wish the Minister and the Chairman of the Board of Censorship to examine what has happened. I propose to deal with books which, in my opinion, have been improperly banned. Firstly, I come to the book entitled The Tailor Antsy. It is a book dealing with local country life and contains the sayings of country folk in a rather remote part of County Cork. The rather interesting and racy couple known as the tailor and his wife Antsy.
Professor McGuinness.
Here, look. I suggest that before Sir John Keane reads the passage, an instruction must be given to the official reporter of the House not to record it. Otherwise, we shall have some of the vilest obscenity in our records.
Senator Hayes.
Just one more, Cahill.
I believe, Cahill, that it would be an extraordinary thing if we were to hear the whole of this thing in its obscenity.
Professor McGuinness.
Here, look, I would not foul my lips nor defile the ears of this House by quoting from this book. It is not fair that this book be read out and put in the official records of this House, where it can be bought and read by the general public.
Senator Goulding.
Please.
I happen to have read this book, Cahill, and I certainly object to some of its passages being read out in this House. They're generally obscene, and I would be loath to sit here now and listen to them.
Sir John Keane.
I consider, Mr. Chairman, that I am perfectly entitled to quote from a book which has been censored and put the facts before the House. It is not intended to corrupt or deprave or to excite to sexual passion or unnatural vice. But I do not see how anyone can argue that it is.
The Senator is entitled to read from the book.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I propose to read you certain passages from this book.
This is a no.
The Senator must be allowed to proceed.
You're a disgrace to us.
Absolutely not.
In the townland of Garry-na-Pika, in the district of Inchigila, in the parish of Eve Leary, in the barony of West Muskerry, in the county of Cork, in the province of Munster, lives the tailor.
And that's how the instinct of a cat brought the first indigo dye to Ireland. Do you know, I was just thinking before I came in.
Thinking. Pity you don't have something better to be doing than to be sitting there in our arse, poking and smoking and thinking.
Not a fish, woman. What set me thinking was, a queer thing happened today and I outstanding to the cow. Didn't a woman come out the road and when she saw the cow, I declare to God, but didn't she ask me, was it a bull or a cow?
Bull or a cow, glory be.
And she wasn't a young one either. Married she was, by the ring on her finger, you tell she was married.
Queer sort of a marriage that was if she couldn't tell the difference between a bull or a cow.
Wasn't I thinking the very same thing myself? And she drinking milk all her life and not knowing the difference between a bull and a cow, my lad.
Queer sort of a marriage that is.
The world's gone to alabastry, and queerer it's getting every day. There are people these days who don't know wheat from barley and still eat bread.
Bull and a cow.
Or the difference between a cock and a hen, and they eat eggs. Herself, or is it a bull or a cow?
Oh, you're only spreading stories. There's all stories and lies. Stories and your lies.
What lies?
You're a damn sight better off to be saying a rosary for herself than to be sitting there smoking and telling lies. Bull or a cow, indeed.
She must be one stupid woman.
Well, she's wiser than me to be standing here and listening to you and your old lies.
Wise? I've always heard that King Solomon was the wisest man that ever lived, but I have my doubts about that too. Didn't he have 10,000 wives?
10,000 wives?
And I can't put the wisdom of any man with that many wives together in my head.
10,000 wives, indeed.
I've reckoned it up, and no matter how frolicsome a man he might be, it would take him nearly 30 years of nights without having a holiday to get his conjugal rights.
30 years of nights without a holiday, and he a king? King? More of an old tomcat, I'd say. 30 years of nights, Lord save us.
Then again, being king, he could get whatever help he needed. But sure, that only makes him a bigger class of a fool. What sense is there in a man getting married if he's going to let another man have all the fun?
That's another man have all the fun, a bigger class of a fool.
Never be able to make out rightly if he was the wisest man or the biggest damn fool the world has ever known. Kings were no fun in them days.
No fun. 30 years of nights, 10,000 wives. And you says he had no fun in those days yourself, and all our lies.
What lies? One Paddy Sullivan aged in Algeria.
What Algeria?
A part of Africa known as the white man's grave. And he talked to me on this very subject. Paddy told me that they have a class of a king out there by the name of Raja bin Salam, and he having 100 wives by him.
Hanuman deal 100 wives in the white man's grave.
Didn't Paddy see them with his own eyes? He could get no nearer to them than that, though, for Raja bin Salam had a lot of men looking after them. Queer sort of men, like wethers they were. I don't know, and Paddy didn't know either if they were born that way or if they were borzeroed the way you would do sheep.
And himself, they all ran by them, I suppose.
Them heathens are terribly cruel people. I've often thought that perhaps there were men who had committed some crime, but 'tis a terrible punishment.
To be borzeroed like a sheep, glory be.
God damn it, a man who do such a thing would have no heart at all.
Not knowing the difference between a bull and a cow.
This man, Raja bin Salam, was as black as the ace of spades. Most of his wives were black, and Paddy was telling me that the black ones were much easier to handle than the white ones. And that must be, for one white woman would be enough for any man.
More than enough.
But Christ, the heat must make a difference too. What a terrible hot out in Algeria. But still, big difference between King Solomon and his 10,000 wives and Raja bin Solomon and his 100.
Power of a difference. Not knowing the difference between a bull and a cow. With his 30 years of nights without a holiday, the women are worse than the men.
Worse than the men, huh? Like the two women in the city of Glasgow years ago, and they both kept randy warehouses. One day one of them says to the other, "And how's business with you, Mrs. McGregor?" "We're terrible busy," she says, "terrible busy altogether. 'Tis so busy we are these days that I have to take a turn myself now and again."
How well you were listening to her. 'Tis our prayers you should be saying.
'Tis too many prayers you're saying, that's your problem.
You're a better you say a few yourself, and the priest coming to the house next week.
Let him come, let him come. It'll be only like the man who hadn't been to confession for 15 years, and when the priest asked him what sins he had since his last confession, he said, "Every goddamn blasted thing, Father, except suicide."
Listen to yourself and our old stories, always the stories and the lies.
It's an absolute outrage.
You cannot continue with this.
Over my dead. Order, please. Senator Professor McGuinness.
Again I say that anyone who reads such filth as the Tailor and Antsy will come away saddened. Since the board was established, 1,552 books have been banned. If books of the type of the Tailor and Antsy are allowed to go through the country unchecked, the result will certainly be deleterious.
On summer days, I helped the tailor in the all-important duty of standing to the cow. Stretched in the heather, we discussed the curious ways of the world. I was not alone in my fascination of the old couple of Garry-na-Pika. The tailor's fireside was the gathering place for a host of friends and neighbours. Amongst the tailor's many friends was the sculptor Seamus Murphy. And when he proposed the making of a bust of the tailor readily agreed.
It was always and ever said the two heads are better than one. And the one I have now, I have for 75 years, and 'tis getting the worse for wear. Of course I'll have a new one, Seamus. Of course I will, by Ian.
Beyond the kitchen is what was once the tailor's studio. But now that his days of serious work are over, it is known only as the room. Here Anstey keeps her pans of milk for cream and the churn for her butter making. All the apparatus and material for the making of the tailor's bust were assembled by Seamus. The tailor inspected them with the interest of a fellow craftsman. Anstey ignored the business at the beginning. Her only interest in it was her resentment of the invasion of the room.
taking over the room with their muck and their mortar for only to make a new head for the devil.
For an hour or so each day, under Seamus Murphy's artistic eye, the tailor posed and talked and commented.
I'll tell you one thing about the white hazel. Do you see the stick in my hand? Well, this stick...
You might hold steady for one moment there, Tailor.
How's this, Seamus?
Perfect, Tailor, perfect. Just hold there. No.
Tell me, Seamus, in your travels, have you ever heard of a famous breed of flea they have in Killarney?
No, can't say that I have.
Well,
no.
Lord God, a friend of mine, a pig dealer, told me he saw one of them fit. Oh, he told me that one of them bit him in the bed one night. And when he threw back the bedclothes, the flea jumped out, and as he was trying to climb out the window, didn't my pig dealer make a swipe at him with his boot? And didn't the flea stop, bare his teeth, and bark at him? Bark at him.
That for all. Himself and his stories.
Bark at him, he did.
You'll have to hold steady there for 1 minute now, Tailor, till I get another measurement of your head there.
I tell you, many's the time I have measured a man's body for a new suit of clothes. But I never thought that the day would come when I would be measured myself for a new head.
You'll have to sit still there for a while, Tailor. Maybe we should take a break, a rest for a while.
Devil a rest. This is taking less out of me than the time the whole of my body was in the making before I was born. There's considerable improvement in this method, Seamus. A man can smoke and take his ease and chat away for himself. It reminds me of the story about the man who made a statue. Well, Lord God, and didn't...
I think you'll have to tighten your mouth. It'll be better that way, Tailor, yeah.
And what about Inchcape Rock, Seamus?
Inchcape Rock?
Inchcape Rock, there, look, the only tooth in my head. I tell you, that tooth has enjoyed itself. No fun in its day, I tell you, when it had all its companions. They were the boys through, Many's the half-gallon of porter swilled around that, and many's the pig it made mince meat of, old Inchcape.
I'm just going to try and tackle your hair now, Tailor.
Fire away, Seamus, fire away. I've forgotten how many hairs I have. Gone doubt they're all numbered according to the book. But I'm sure one wrong here or there will make divil a bit of difference.
Well, oh, look at my old Stal. Just look at the puss of him who'll think he were the cat that drank the cream, sitting there like a statue in a chapel, and the devil doing nothing but planning lies and stories.
Get a hold your fish, woman, and get yourself tidied up.
Why for so should I get tidied up?
Won't we have to go and see the priest when this is done?
The priest for why?
Sure, we'll have to get married again. You were only married to the old head. You'll have to marry the new one now, or else we'll be living in sin.
You're a howl, you devil.
Oh, Christ, Seamus, that's a damn fine job you're doing. I couldn't do better if I did it myself. Tell me, did you ever hear of a pub above in Cork City there called the Holly Bush? Lord God, 'tis there they have the best porter that I ever had the pleasure to pass Inchcape Rock, and many is the night I spent in it, I can tell you.
Seamus Murphy trimmed the clay and carried it away for the bronze casting. And some weeks later, the finished bust of the tailor was brought back to Garrynapeaka. It was placed on a stand in the dim light of the studio. The stout and the beer and the whiskey were opened.
Will you look at him and the mug of him? You think he was a statue in a chapel. Here, Dan, will you have a hit of tea?
A bit of man and I will tea.
I did hear tell, Tailor, that you're in the way of having your image made.
Faith I am, in the done and dusted donation in the studio.
Studio, the room. 'Twas then the room, is now the room, and never shall be the room. Himself and his blasted studio.
Would it be like a class of a photograph?
What photograph, man? Bronze? A good strong one, made of bronze, the hardest metal that ever was.
Indeed.
'Twas the metal that had an arm brought to Ireland with them. It'll last for hundreds of years, man.
Tell me, Tailor, how's it done?
'Tis easy enough. We stick our head into a pot of stirabout, and when it sets cold, you pull out your head, melt the bronze, and pour it into the hole left by your head. Then all that's to do is to wet the stirabout, and there you'll bid your new head inside the pot. Can't you go down to the studio and take a look at it for yourself?
I will then. From stirabout, you say?
Well, oh, listen to himself in his old studio.
I tell you, Tailor, they say it is unlucky for a man to have his image made.
Unlucky, my lad. Didn't have so unlucky as going to bed. As many as the men had twins as a result of going to bed. And don't most people die in bed?
I suppose 'tis true for you.
True for you. If a man had any real sense, he'd stay out of the bed, and the death wouldn't catch him so easily.
It isn't right, Tailor. It's against the commandments. It is graven image. The church and all the popes are against it.
Or didn't you make a few small lads yourself? With whole entire bodies, legs, head, the lot?
Ha be damn. I heard you're having a new skull made, Tailor.
That's true, Dan. Last 100 years it will. Made of bronze, it won't be affected by the heat or the cold or the sun or the rain.
But you've never heard the likes.
It's a new patent they have for making people. For the young ones these days are failing in the job and the population of the country is falling down.
Be damn. I've heard it all now.
It's all the new way now, Dan. Aeroplanes, wireless and cars, and now this new way of making people.
Wonders will never cease.
Wonders will never cease as long as women kiss donkeys.
Will you have a hit of tea?
No, Anstey. I'm off home.
And the night only starting.
It's devilish, Tailor. Devilish, I tell you. Good night.
And to think that Seamus Murphy made a bust of that old divil like he was a saint in a church.
Well, be damn. But wasn't I down here to the room? And you know, it greatly resembles the Tailor. A fine head.
That's a head that'll wear out many bodies and break the jaws of any flair that tries to bite it.
And tell me, Tailor, will you be able to use it?
Well, don't look at my old divil of the two heads. And the one he have already no use to him.
Be damn. But Seamus Murphy must be a clever man.
Clever? Seamus Murphy's as good as Daniel O'Connell and Owen Rowe put together. Putting out new heads no bother to him. Before he's finished, he'll have the whole of Ireland repopulated again.
Himself and his new head. There's another bottom he needs, for the one he has is nearly worn out, sitting on it, and nothing all day, only smoking and telling lies.
Maybe you'd like a new bust of yourself done, Anstey?
Bust! Bust!
A bust of you and the Tailor together, like. Make a great show.
If 'tis a match for that old devil you want, you can make a bust of my backside. Glory be, and to think that Seamus Murphy wouldn't fix that leak in my chimney, but rather waste the good mortar and plaster making a bust of my old style.
Will you hold your fish, woman, and look after our guests?
Mr. Chairman, please.
Look, I have the floor. The book, The Tailor Antsy, should be banned. I have read the book, because I had to do the banning of it. I would like to pay tribute to the censorship board in the discharge of this onerous task. There is one particular newspaper that specialises on attacking the censorship board, and that paper is the Irish Times. Whatever about books, the censorship board has done untold benefit in prohibiting the sale of certain periodicals.
Tailor, do you know Jimmy Petty of Ballymacool?
Do I fight? Jimmy Petty, that great big stupid block of a bosthoon of a fella.
Did you hear he came into money? £200?
I did not. He had an uncle went days to Australia. Maybe he was left a legacy.
This was no legacy.
Was it the way he was knocked down and killed by a motor car and got damages?
That a talk sense, woman. £200 for Jimmy Petty. And fat pigs only 88 shillings a hundred. 'Twas found money, of course.
This was no legacy. No damages or found money. It was how he got it from a newspaper for crosswords.
Crosswords?
Yes.
A libel action, was it?
That it was not. It was for winning a competition.
Jimmy Petty winning a competition? Well, devil blast it. It must have been a competition to find the stupidest galoot of a man in the whole of Ireland, so.
'Twas nothing. 'Twas not. There 'tis there. Look in black and white in the newspaper for the whole world to see. See it? Third prize winner, Mr. James Murphy, Ballymacool, County Cork, £200.
What?
£200? Mr. James Murphy? Well, glory be.
It was the way he had some hold over them, I'd say, and they had to give him the money. I wonder for why.
Won't you believe what's printed? He won the money fair and square. A test of skill and intelligence.
Skill? What skill do that man have? That's our intelligence. Here, show me that.
You can see it there, there in front of you.
Hannah Montiel, will you look at that there? A woman with not a stitch on her, but an old corset. A corset, if you don't mind. Glory be for all the world to see.
Here, show me that.
Well, Lord save us, but 'tis a queer world when the women are being photoed in nothing but their corsets.
And a fine make of a woman she is too, God bless her. A man could do a lot worse than have the likes of her in her corset about the house in the idle time of winter.
Now listen to my old style and you nearly in your grave.
In my grave? It is jealousy, that's the matter with you.
How would you wish the both of you? With your women in corsets and your carry on, don't you realise you're throwing away money?
What throwing away money?
There's money you're begging. If a dim galoot like Jimmy Paddy can come along and pick it up.
Maybe you're right.
All we have to do is tell the paper the right words for a certain meaning. Crosswords, they do call them.
That should be easy enough.
According to the list that Jimmy Paddy sent in, there are simple words like beam and pull.
Here, show me that paper again. My God, some cut of a corset, She haven't much by the way of lumps of temptation, God bless her. Sure, these days women can't even suckle their children. It fails most of them to breed at all.
Thousands of pounds to be taken, and all you can look at is that shameless woman.
Shameless? What's there to be ashamed of? Isn't she a fine class of a woman? As women go these days.
God damn it, Taylor, will you pay attention? There's thousands of pounds riding on a test of intelligence, and all you can think of is the lust of the flesh.
You're right. Anstey, hand down the pen and paper.
Mullaher, thousands of pounds indeed.
Right, down to work. And the first word is...
Found at water's edge.
Found at water's edge. It must be... shore. S-H-O-R-E.
Isn't that? It'd have to be a word with 4 letters in it.
Oh, that's easy. Duck. D-U-C-K, duck.
No, it isn't that either. The 2 letters in the middle are O and A.
O and A. So that only makes it easier. It must be boat. B-O-I-T, boat.
I don't know, Taylor.
What I don't know?
I think it might be foam. F-O-R-M.
Sure, where else would you find a boat only by the water's edge?
And where else would you find foam?
Haven't you often dipped your nose into the foam at the top of a pint, haven't you? You wouldn't find a boat on the top of your pint.
I tell you, you're wrong.
And I tell you, I'm not wrong.
'Tis foam.
'Tis not.
Will ye keep down your own fighting?
It is not.
There's a visitor at the door.
Sure, goddamn it, it's there in front of you.
Oh,
God bless all here.
well, if it isn't herself, Dan, come in.
Here I will then. Thanks very much, Nancy.
But there's no doubt but you're as thick as a double ditch, do you know that?
I might be,
Good
but
evening,
I know
all.
more about this than you.
Sit down there, Dan. You'll have a hate of tea.
I will, thank you.
God damn it, man, I said 'tis foam.
It is not foam.
Listen, won't you have a bit of manners and say hello to Dan and give over your blasted arguing?
I tell you 'tis foam.
It is not foam. Look, Dan there, he's a man with all the learning. You'll settle this, Dan, won't you?
I will if I can, Taylor, yeah.
Wouldn't you find a boat at the water's edge?
I suppose you would, if it were there.
See now, what did I say?
And wouldn't you find foam at the water's edge?
I suppose you would. At times, but what's yet at all?
'Tis what they call a crossword.
Crossword?
'Tis a class of a puzzle here in the paper.
Oh, I do hear that they're dangerous things, them puzzles. 'Twas puzzles that drove Michael Carey off his head, so that he had to be put away.
Not that the 2 of them need much driving, sure they're half cracked as it is.
Any news of the war in the paper?
No news, except that there's a photograph of a woman here in her corset, and she advertising for a man. Here, see for herself.
Oh, Lord God, will you put it away, Taylor? Arja, put it away.
Ring a door. Isn't it a queer world we're living in to have a woman like that being photographed? You ought to be ashamed of yourself to carry the likes of that around in your pocket.
How the hell was I to know it was in it? I only brought it up for the competition.
'Tis a temptation from the devil, that's what it is. A temptation from the devil. I never seen such a thing. No good'll come out of it.
A temptation from the devil. I'll die with shame before I'd ever look
Sure, who the hell is asking you to be photographed like that? There'd have to be no other woman living in the world before they'd ask you. There's nothing in your heads but jealousy.
A temptation from the devil, I tell you, Tailor.
A temptation, me hearts. Anyway, 'twas he brought it into this house. Maybe he's the devil.
I didn't know it was in it. I only brought it for the money to be won.
'Tis the way the devil works, tempting your soul with the money.
You're right. We'll have no more to do with this paper. The money'd only be bad.
Has Jimmy Penny gone to hell? You may be bloody full sure that he hasn't, and he drinking a lovely fresh pint down with his winnings. I'll take the money myself.
But if it's bad money, Tailor...
Bad money? No money is bad. We can always get the priest to bless it. Isn't that what he's there for?
Maybe you're right, Tailor. Maybe you're right.
Well, you can let me out of it. 'Tis a temptation from the devil offering you money for your soul.
What's the world coming to at all? Bad money. And to think there are women being photoed in their corsets, I declare to God they won't even be wearing them next.
Come on, read out the next clue.
Nothing but bad will come of this, I tell you.
I don't mind him. Read it out, man, come on.
The next clue is... you ready, Tailor?
Yes, come on.
When the work of the year is done and the nights grow long, the tailor's nightly court at Garry-na-Pika grows in size. The settle will be full and all the chairs will be occupied. There will be an overflow on the stairs and on the window ledge. Friends all. And the tailor had his own way of naming people. Names like the Saint, the Sheep, Dan Bedam, Cork Echo, and many more. Me? I was always known as Crass.
Do you know, Crass? In my days in Cork and in Dublin and in Scotland, I saw everything that was to be seen.
I'd say you did, Tailor.
I went to circuses and concerts and the opera, and they were all good enough in their own way. But you know, the best sport I ever had was around this very fire here.
True for you.
People have always resorted to this house. Before my time, when Ansty's father was alive...
Oh, God rest him.
God rest him indeed. It was a great house, and still is. I tell you, a lot of fun, and very little harm's gone up that chimney with the smoke. Have you ever heard tell of Lollipoppus?
Lollipoppus, Tailor?
What am I talking about? Sure, how would you know it by that name? For 'tis a name I put on it myself.
Oh, himself and his lollipoppus.
Nah, it was a long time ago now. The papers were making an almighty fuss about a star in the heavens that had gone on fire. You could see it for yourself, tearing around the sky with the flames and the smoke pouring out of it.
Lord save.
Healy's Comet, they called it. How the hell could it belong to Healy or to any other man, come to that? It was a lot of nonsense calling it Healy's Comet. You might as well say that the sun belonged to Dan Bedam. So I christened it for myself and called it Lollipoppus. A good enough name for it. I suppose you don't remember Lollipoppus, Class?
It's a bit before my time, Tailor.
Sure, it was before your time. What year do we have now? 1942. Sure, it must be the full 30 years ago.
What, 30 years ago? Is it losing our senses of arbiter 30 years ago?
30 years ago next August.
I tell you, 'tis not.
Hannah and dear woman, 'twas 30 years ago, as sure as there's a tail on that cat. Wasn't it 30 years ago that Jack the Ram got married?
And what if it was?
Wasn't it that the year that I sold the black heifer calf west in Bantry? Wasn't that the year that Timmy Johnny went to America? Wasn't that the year when...
Would you listen to him? And wasn't that the year that...
How old is Denny Mary Jamesy? Wasn't he 31 years last Christmas? And wasn't his father married to the Loughra woman the year before at the same time as the Redbreast? Well, so...
Didn't the Loughra woman marry the Yank? And wasn't she a first cousin to Mary John the Pub? And she had only the two girls, and didn't one of them go away to America and the other one marry Jimmy Feddy?
She was not, I tell you. There was no relation at all, unless it was on her mother's side. Her father was a Leary from Carrickdove. Now, didn't I know him as well as I know you? Wasn't it many's the night we spent playing cards together? Wasn't her sister married over in America to Paddy Pat Bwee? And haven't I a relation myself to him, for the Paddy Pat Bwees were near related to my brother's wife's people.
Ah, good man, Tailor.
Hanneman, deal talk sense, woman.
Talk sense? Listen to who's telling me to talk sense, or half cracked, or self in her 30 years. 'Tis cracked you are.
There's no one thinks themselves so sound in the head as the mad people.
Didn't the Redbreast marry the daughter of Long John? And hasn't Johnny Mary Jamesy been the age of the pension since last October? And didn't
Now hold your fist, woman. You haven't a bit of the head. 'Tis sorry I am for you.
Sorry for me? 'Tis sorry for who that I am, or self in her 30 years
Have it
ago.
so, woman, have it so, have it so.
'Tis sorry for who I am.
As I was saying before I was interrupted, some years ago...
Himself and his 30 years ago.
We were all gathered here at this fireplace like we are tonight, and that damned Healy's comet, or lollipopus as I called it, was tearing around the sky like a mad bull. No telling what it would do next.
Oh, the Lord save us.
Some astronomer on the paper said that if lollipopus touched the earth, it would burn the whole earth up, man, dog and child of it. Well, we talked about it for a while. Some got afraid. So we talked about other things. There was a local man. I put the name Cork Echo on him, for he knew everything. He was sitting right here beside me, and what was on his mind was a stretch of common land shared between him and his neighbours, and things got a bit heated.
Tell them a deal.
There's a hill up there beyond Derrynone called Coolclough, common ground held by our friend Cork Echo and the people of Derrynone. Covered with gorse and heather and furze and Hanneman deal, Cork Echo hell-bent on burning it. Sitting right there, he was arguing right go wrong that he should be allowed to burn the top of Coolclough.
God damn it, I will burn it. But there's nothing but furze and heather and fern, and my own cattle getting lashed up there.
That don't give you the right to burn it.
There's some mighty holes under that scrub, and mark my word, but one day the cattle will get injured.
And what of it is common land?
Common land? Well, there. Should be burned to the ground and no more about it.
There'll be no burning of that scrub up in Coolnaclough. Not so long as there's breath in my body. And any hand that sets light on one blade of
I
grass
tell you, Cross, nothing would do but Cork Echo wanted to burn it. And no one else would agree with him. Yet he was always mad to burn, and still is. There was no sense or meaning to half the fires he started. I told him once that he must have taken out his papers to the devil and serving his apprenticeship to hell. Anyway, after a while, the argument over Coolclough faded, and we talked about something else, and so on till the end of the night, and the company broke up.
Good night, Taylor.
Are you off so early?
Stay home now.
Good luck, Sloan. Thanks for the tea, Anstey.
We'll see you the next
Sloan,
time.
Jerry.
Good night, John.
Anstey.
Good night.
Will you not have a hot drop for the road?
That's when I noticed Cork Echo himself stayed behind, delaying by the door as the others left. And when they'd gone, didn't he come over alongside me? The two of us sat by the fire, smoking for a piece. He had something on his mind. It was only a matter of time before all would be revealed. Mar glock bug an sail, agus glochig an sail bug too.
Do you know, Taylor, it would be a great ace to me if Coolclough was burnt.
Have we tried praying for it?
I pestered every saint that I've ever heard of for it to be burnt.
Do you know what? I think your prayers are in the way of being answered.
How could that be? Have you seen a fire?
Fire, huh? Fire be damned. Didn't you hear about lollipopus? Lollipopus could be an answer to your prayers.
Lollipopus? In what way?
Hanneman dear, have you no brains at all, man? Didn't that astronomer say that if lollipopus touches the earth will be burnt?
And what of it?
Well, if it just so happens that lollipopus touches Coolclough...
What's the chances of that?
God damn it, man, that's the worst of you religious people. You just want to get down on your knees and pray and leave it at that. Haven't you heard that the Lord helps them who help themselves? Lollipopus is your only man.
Lollipopus?
Is it stupid you are? Can't you go up and set fire to Coolclough yourself?
Huh? Myself?
Do I have to spell it out for you? When the fire has caught, change into your nightshirt and run bawling and shrieking round the neighbours' houses in Derrynone, screaming out that Lollipopus has touched the earth, Lollipopus has touched the earth, we'll all be burnt alive. Oh, get down on your knees and say your prayers, 'tis the end of the world. And sure, they'll all be on their knees praying, saying their rosary. Coolclough would burn nicely.
I don't know, Taylor. It wouldn't be right.
God grant me patience from people with scruples. Is it some sort of disease that religious people get? That they think everything is a sin? Haven't you been praying for it to happen?
I have, Tailor, I have.
And now that the miracle is handed you on a plate, all you can say is it wouldn't be right, Tailor.
But my conscience, Tailor.
To hell with your conscience. If I was the Almighty, I'd lose my patience with the like of you who has me pestered with prayers. Do you expect the Almighty to come down here with a box of matches and set fire to Cold himself? Is that what you want?
Well, no.
That he'd have nothing better to be doing with his time? He answers your prayers, he puts opportunity in your way, and you're too blind and stupid to see it?
I don't know, Tailor. It wouldn't be right.
Right. 'Twill be the best thing you ever did. If you ever get to heaven at all, this is the greatest chance you'll ever get. Won't you be getting Jerry the Rover down on his knees to pray for the first time in years? Won't you be doing more than any priest or missioner in Ireland has ever been able to do with him?
Do you think so, Tailor?
Think so? God damn it, I know so. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't make you into a saint or some class of a religious martyr.
Right-o, so. Look, I'd better go off now. And we'll talk again soon.
Give that old door a good tug, or 'tis stuck with the damp.
Well, then, I will then. I'll go up to Coultlock, set fire, change into my nightshirt, run into town shouting that Lollypoppus has hit Coultlock, and for them to get down on their knees to pray to Almighty God that they'll all be saved.
I tell you, Crass, that put salt in his tail for him, imagining himself a saint along with St. Patrick and the rest of them. Well, didn't he carry out the plan just as I told him? Fired Coultlock, ran bawling around Derrynone in his nightshirt and got all his neighbours on their knees to pray, even Jerry the Rover, and Coultlock was burned bare as the top of a bald man's head. Well, 2 nights later, and they all gathered here at this very fireside, there was nothing but talk of the wonder of Lollypoppus and the miraculous escape, and how Cork Echo saved them by getting him out of their beds to say the rosary. And then didn't I think of it? Didn't I produce the newspaper and let on to read a bit that wasn't printed there at all?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Wish there's something here about it in the paper.
Shh. Read it, Tailor. Read it.
Order.
Here it is. Now, in the early hours of the morning, when everyone was asleep, Healy's comet touched the top of Coultlock, one of the highest mountains in West Cork. The top of the mountain was fired, and the fire was spreading rapidly down the side of the mountain to Derrynone, where a number of families were sleeping innocent of the great danger that was upon them. One man, however, who was saying his prayers before going to bed, saw the awful fire and rushed round to his neighbours with not a stitch on him but his nightshirt through the bitterly cold night and roused them all from their beds. He led them in the saying of the rosary, so that the fire was turned back by a miracle and all lives were saved, and the earth was saved from destruction, as prophesied by the most famous astronomer in the world. The brave act of this man has been brought to the notice of the bishop, who has sent the news to the Pope in Rome.
Glory be to God. The Pope before their mind.
That's a grand story, Tailor.
Well, I tell you, Crass, do you know that Cork Echo fella? He's one of the stupidest men that ever walked. Do you know that he complained the following day that he'd caught a cold by being out in his nightshirt? Well, says I to him, the devil break your legs, haven't you had your prayers answered? You've worked a miracle, you're well on your way to being a saint, and you grumble because you've caught a cold? I declare God Almighty has more patience than I gave him credit for. They were airy times, and airy people. That was a long time ago. As I say now, 30 years ago now.
30 years? What 30 years?
Oh, Lord, not this again. I tell you, it was 30 years ago, next holiday in August.
You listen to him and he's 30 years.
Have it so, woman. Have it your own way. What year are we now at all? 1940, is it? It all happened about 1910.
1910. Well, fancy that. 1910. Well, glory be.
The tailor speaks to Carlo. Carlo turns to the tailor and barks. Never the cow, always the tailor. As if interpreter of the tailor's commands, Carlo understands the tailor and the cow understands Carlo. It's an original method, but it works. In Anstey's scheme of things, this cow is capable of every form of devilment that ever flickered through an animal's mind. The cow must be watched at all times, and only when it's locked up for the night in its clean and warm thatched stall does peace of any kind light upon Gary na Pica.
Good dog, Carlo. Good dog. How do cross? Will you come in for a minute?
I was actually on my way to visit you, Tailor.
Good, good. For a moment till I get these sticks under me. Do you know, 'tis a queer thing, but I tell you, animals have a language all their own. I tell the dog, and the dog tells the cow. The dog understands me, and the cow understands the dog. But isn't it strange? But I can't understand what the cow says to the dog, not what the dog says to the cow, huh? My lair, but I swear to God, the animals are getting more intelligent and daring. I've wondered sometimes if there's just so much intelligence in the world, and if humans don't use it, the animals get the use of it. And these days, people do use intelligence less than they did in the old days.
Who's that with you? Cross. Come in, Cross, come in. Did you hear any news from town?
Adam, a lair woman, will you let the man sit down yourself and your questions? Sit down there, Cross, sit down there.
Sure, let me take that out from under your nose.
Tell me, Cross, how's the book doing?
Well, that's the reason I've called, Tailor.
Must be in every school in Ireland by now, I suppose.
It's like this, Tailor. They've put your book on the banned list. You won't be able to buy the book anymore.
And why for so? Is it how they ran out of paper?
I'm afraid that's not the reason.
Well, it must be that everyone has a copy, so. It won't be long now before Ireland is the wisest country in the whole world when they all have it read.
The book can't be sold anymore.
What?
It's the law, Tailor.
The law? You might as well be trying to hang your hat on a rainbow as expecting sense from the law. They only see the world upside down and back to front. But tell me, what do the law have to do with the book?
The Minister of Justice has appointed a board of censorship. They advise him which books should be read or not.
Harnaman, dear, you don't mean to say they've invented another board? Haven't we already more than enough with the tourist board and the turf board, the pig board, the egg board and the warble fly board to plague us? And now you tell me we've got another one? Do you know, Cross, we'll wake up one morning and find that everyone in the country is either in the government or on a board of the government, and there'll be no one left to govern. Show me that kettle there.
What are you doing at all?
Putting the kettle on the fire, woman.
What for are you hanging the kettle? It was only half an hour ago since we had the dinner.
To cool it, woman, to cool it.
Put it on the fire to cool it. You're half cracked.
Only following government orders, for they have decided that there is to be no more common sense in Ireland. And if the country is to be run on government lines, that's why I put the kettle on the fire to cool it.
Following government line. Malayer. Here, step out of that and let me at the kettle. And do your worst, Cross, to be encouraging him. Listen to my old style. Cool it on the fire. Half cracked he is.
Tell me, Cross, what's all this about it all?
The government have stopped the sale of the book because they think it's indecent.
Indecent? In my days in Scotland, there was a man who got jail for indecency, and rightly so. But how in the name of God could a book be indecent?
The Board of Censorship has decided that the book is indecent. In their own words, it is suggestive of or inciting to sexual immorality or vice, or likely in any similar way to corrupt or deprave.
Ah, God Almighty, that's some mouthful of hot porridge. Sexual immorality, indeed. They've read the book, and that's what they found.
That's what they say, Tailor.
'Tis ever said, if we search hard enough, you can be sure that you'll find what you're looking for. 'Tis the man with dark spectacles sees all the world dark. It's a queer state of affairs. That book has nothing in it but the talk and fun and laughter that has gone on for generations around this fireside. Not alone this fireside, but every fireside in Ireland for hundreds of years. And it took this government to discover that it was sexual immorality. Our own Minister of Justice and his old hairpins. Malair, did none of them, or the Minister himself, never sit at an Irish fireside at night to listen, join in the talk? Or are there nothing but a pack of Dublin Jackians aping the English? Do you know, Cross, many years ago, there was a man come to this country to do it a great deal of harm, a man by the name of Cromwell, a sour-faced devil if ever there was one. He'd shoot dead anyone he saw smiling. Well, before he came, Ireland was known the world over as a country of laughter and fun and sport of every kind. Well, Cromwell came with his army and put a stop to all that. That was a long time ago, but it looks to me that he left a lot of descendants. They're up in Dáil Éireann. Let me have that bit of gibberish again. Suggestive of or inciting to sexual immorality or unnatural vice or likely in any way to corrupt or deprave. Have I got it right? I'll be wondering in the meantime what incited the board to sexual immorality. Was it the bit about the tourist who didn't know the difference between a bull or a cow, which depraved and corrupted the blasted minister?
I know this must all come as some disappointment to you, Tailor.
They're only man-made laws, Crass. Man-made laws. They're a glock bug on sale, agus glockig on sale bug too. There are laws beyond the temporal laws of men. 'Tis like everything else. Why should the drinking of whiskey that no tax has been paid on be wrong, when to my mind the tax-free stuff tastes better? Why should the fish of the streams be any particular man's property? Why should there be a legal and an illegal way of killing them? There can be little difference to the fish, how it's caught, or to the taste by the man who eats them. In fact, it's my opinion, a poached salmon tastes better than the one that is caught according to the law. Man-made laws, Cross, man-made laws. I tell you, the world is but a blue bag. Knock a squeeze out of it when you can.
The book was banned and judged to be vile and obscene. One afternoon, 3 priests arrived at the cottage in Garrynapeaka and forced the old man on his knees at his own fireside and made him burn his copy of the book. The following year, Senator John Keane proposed in the Senate that the censorship board be reconstituted. The proposal was defeated. One could hardly imagine a more complete defeat. 34 votes against, 2 votes for. The Tailor and Antsy were forced to live through the humiliation of it all, but they could always rely on the moral support of their good friends and neighbours, who continued to gather at the fireside in Garrynapeaka. Within 10 years, the censorship board had to be drastically reconstructed, and one of the first books discovered not to be obscene was the very one that was so obscene that it could not even be recorded in the records of the house. In the graveyard at Gugarnbarra, just west the road, from the townland of Garrynapeaka, in the district of Inchigeela, in the parish of Eve Leary, in the barony of West Muskerry, in the county of Cork, in the province of Munster, under a stone carved by their friend Seamus Murphy, the Tailor and Antsy are laid to rest. It bears the simple inscription, "A star danced, and under that I was born."
Now all you young maidens don't listen to me, for I will incite you to immorality, or unnatural vice, or in similar way, corrupt or deprave you and lead you astray.
Will you listen to the old devil with his stories and lies and puffing his pipe and singing and...
I do declare to God, woman, before they nail down the lid on your coffin, you'll stick your head up and have the last word.
The last word? Well, glory be.